Good morning, YouTube. This is a response to suicide for celluloid. Your response to my response. Got the glitches, that one, you know. Because we're talking about contradictory worldviews, or not contradictory necessarily, but how worldviews, whether they be scientifically derived or derived through myth or story or biography or whatever, how those worldviews are always partial and they're model dependent, and you know, the temperature we take of the world dependent on what kind of thermometer we point at it, you know, those kind of things. And if you keep pointing different instruments at the world and at human experience, the picture you get back is always going to be partial. And when these different pictures overlap, there's going to be glitches and paradoxes and moire patterns and artifacts produced by the method of inquiry, those kind of things really. And the question of whether there is a world out there is kind of irrelevant. What we have is world views, and that's not the same thing, is it? But those glitches are interesting. What you're saying about Zizek, which I think is, and your pronunciation is so much better than mine, but I'll stick with mine, Zizek. What you're talking about him and, I think it was Zizek. Yeah, I think so. Parallax, you were talking about, yeah? Parallax. Where you close one eye, close the other eye, and a finger jumps from side to side. I really like that. And you mentioned something like, you know, wave-particle dualism. So yes, it's a wave, it's a particle. It's a wave, it's a particle. Or free will. Free will determinism. Free will determinism. Depending which eye you look at, depending which instrument you point at the world. And sometimes those. What I like about the parallax one is it kind of reminds me, at least, that that the view you get back from combining those different worldviews can be useful and can be completely comprehensible, at least in theory. You know, when I'm doing this, doing my parallax view of my finger, I kind of know that what's happening there is there's two pictures being made, yes? There's a picture being made by my right eye and a picture being made by my left. Literally two different world views, and different things are being presented. But of course I don't see that. It doesn't. In fact, I can't see that unless I close one eye and close the other. With both eyes open, that parallax necessarily resolves itself into depth perception. So, and that's something I don't have to intellectually think about. It's just there. You know, depth perception is as real to me as the single perception of one eye or t'other. You know what I mean? So that just serves for me as a kind of motif for the effective combination of worldviews, the resolution of glitches. There is a glitch between my left and right eye, but my brain is exploiting that glitch to give me not an explanation of the world, but a felt engagement with that world, which doesn't resolve those glitches, doesn't resolve the glitch, doesn't resolve the worldviews into a single unity, but rather adds a dimension to it. So that's why I like the Zizek thing, so thank you for that. A couple of things that come out of it for me, and I haven't developed these thoughts particularly, but to me they're interesting. The first is something that To Be Serious said in the comments, Karen Chimera, To Be Serious said in the comments, when she referenced Rube Goldberg machines. I don't know Rube Goldberg that well, but my equivalent to that would be Heath Robinson. Heath Robinson was an illustrator, British illustrator from years and years ago, who drew fantastical machines basically, and I think Rube Goldberg did the same thing. And these would be enormously complex devices with wheels and pulleys and levers and belts spinning and cogs engaging and all kinds of complex interrelated parts, usually to perform really unwieldy tasks. In fact, they were kind of machines for solving imaginary problems or unrealistic problems of human existence, but in a kind of light way, you know. And what I liked about Heath Robinson devices or Rube Goldberg machines is that the machinery at work there is deeply embodied. You know, you can look at the device and every part of it is comprehensible. There's no black boxes in there. There's nowhere that's just got the word CPU on the outside. There's no symbol manipulation taking place on an obvious level. There's apparently no information processing in as how we've come to understand that. It's just wheels spinning. It's all human scale stuff, you know, therefore embodiable, therefore kind of comprehensible and understandable in a way that a lot of ideas and facts and information isn't embodiable. So I'm thinking about that, these Rube Goldberg machines, these Heath Robinson devices, as emblematic again for what we do with the glitch. You know, I think what we'd like to do with the glitches that competing worldviews put in front of us, what we'd like to do is to resolve them into an extra dimension, which is as immediately available as depth perception. You know, I'd love to have that with free will and determinism or wave-particle dualisms. I'd love to be able to look at those two things side by side, and they just resolve themselves into depth. You know, they don't disappear. One doesn't have to fade away in favour of the other. They just resolve themselves into something else. And Rube Goldberg / Heath Robinson devices, in a sense, have something of the similar ambition, at least, if not function. They seem to be hinting at, again, imaginary solutions to unwieldy and impossible problems. But these are imaginary solutions which are at human scale, at understandable, embodiable scale. And the last thing is Alfred Jarry, who I'm a real big fan of, who came up with the term pataphysics. And you know, wrote a whole series of plays and other writings. He wrote a lot about Ubu, the Père Ubu Roi, this rather odd character who runs through my psyche quite a bit. As this kind of disruptive, hedonistic figure, but also he did quite a lot on this other stuff called, what's he called, pataphysics, which I think he's defined it endlessly, and all the definitions are contradictory. But it's kind of the imaginary science of impossible solutions, or a science of imaginary solutions to impossible problems, those kind of things. And there's a set of kind of terms associated with that. The clinamen, the swerve, you know, which has a big history before Jarry. The swerve, you know, which is, I think, comes out of Democritus originally, which is his way of talking about how atoms move. The swerve, which is just beautiful considering he was writing thousands of years ago. But other things as well, the absolute and the Jarry's got a bit of a vocabulary around the idea of pataphysics. Which again is it's an imaginary science. It's very playful and deliberately disruptive, because it's kind of recognising the inevitability of glitches. You know, the glitch is the exceptions. You know, I think elsewhere he calls it the imaginary science of exceptions. The glitch is something like the exception in that, I think. And what do you do with exceptions? And there's kind of an anarchic, weird machinery of terms involving these swerves and drops and absolutes, which addresses that, I think, or tries to. So yeah, Jarry. Yeah, he did. I'm walking up a hill now. So what I'm reminded of with Jarry is he did the crucifixion imagined as an uphill bicycle race, which is great, which J.G. Ballard later reprocessed, imagining the assassination of John F. Kennedy, imagined, I think, as an uphill bicycle race, kind of reimagined, almost as if these cultural moments, whether it be the mythical crucifixion of a fallen god, or the actual assassination of a president, being kind of glitches in the cultural system, and we have to make these machines for thinking about them, machines powered by human-powered machines, in the way that bicycles are human-powered machines, and hills are deeply understandable as signs of exhaustion and stress, you know, those kind of things. Anyhow, that'll do for now, I think. Warbled on long enough. Thanks very much for your response, and speak to you soon. Bye.